In this video, I'm going to show how you can adapt your bodice front pattern piece to include a button stand with a grown-on facing. We're going to use the pattern that we created previously by following my last video, where you'll create a button stand and the separate front facing. You'll need this pattern piece here, but not this one. And what we'll do is we'll combine this front facing piece with this front piece, extending it so the facing part is what they call grown on. It's all part of the same pattern. And what you'll end up with will look something like this, with that facing section here attached to the edge of your button stand. To begin, we're going to start using the pattern piece which you created following the last video. Now take some tracing paper or pattern paper. I'm going to use this baking parchment because it's quite large, and fold over the edge so the folded section is going to cover the area of the facing. The folded section on my pattern, just to give you an idea, is about 11 centimetres wide. Line up the folded edge so that it meets the garment front edge, which is this inner line here, the edge of your button stand. Ignore the seam allowance, we don't need that on this pattern because there isn't going to be a seam. With that line folded over in that way, I'm going to fold out my pattern, and I'm going to trace off exactly the seam line, the dart and the button stand all the way round. I'm not going to trace off the facing piece. It does help to mark in the seam line when you're drawing your own pattern so that you know that you've added in seam allowance. Now I've traced that front pattern piece, fold back the folded section and now trace the line of the facing. And what I'll do now is to cut the pattern piece out. Cutting through the double layer around the neckline. This is what I've got so far. And now I can open the pattern piece up and just cut along that outside edge of the facing. And now I've created the front pattern piece with my grown on facing.